Welcome to the session 2. As I already said, this course is designed for everyone, like freshers, as well as who are working as a different domain in information technology, the IT, maybe the sales or programming. So the person, they will be very interested in cybersecurity, but they didn't get a chance to or learn that. Okay, so we designed the course in this way. Anyone who's jumping to the cybersecurity or who is a fresher or more enthusiast to learn the cybersecurity things, this course will be very suitable for everyone. Okay, so sir, basics. So the key foundation of the ethical hacking and cybersecurity, it will start with the networking. So why we need a networking? Many of them thinking why we need networking in cybersecurity and the offense and defense side. What is the reason for that? So if you see that in the networking there will be the data communication from one machine to the another. Okay, so if there is no data communication, no need of security, no need to secure any data, there is no attacker, no hacker, or no malwares will be there, right? So as a key part, as a foundational, so we need some networking knowledge. This session is not designed for our networking professionals who will be more interested in networking, but this session will teach what are the things and what are the knowledge and skills you needed for a dive into ethical hacking and the cyber security. This session will be key part of the whole course. Okay, so if you are professional in this session, so you can understand anything in cybersecurity, anything in ethical hacking, the upcoming sections. Okay, so let's begin with the networking for offense and defense side. Let's discuss with the first topic called the OSI model. So many of them heard in your college and schools. The OSI. The OSI stand for Open System Interconnections. So this was introduced by the ISO in 1984. So this OSI has 7 layers basically. This 7 layers represents these 7 layers are responsible for how the data come transmitting from one machine to another. Okay, so maybe some of them thinking I am using Mac OS, then what is the representation of the layer? So if you are using Mac, if you are using Linux, if you are using Windows, Android, any operating system around the world, or if you are going to develop a new operating system, no problem. This layer will be the key part of data transmission from one machine to another. For all the architecture, 32-bit as well as a 64-bit, for all architecture, this OSI model will be the basic responsible for data communication from one machine to another. Okay, so let's draw some diagram to understand the OSI model. Okay, so let's think of it. There is one machine and this is you, and here you can see another machine. So this is your bank server. Okay, let's take an example. This will be any server. Let's take an example of a bank server. Okay, so let's first start with the how much layer there is 7 layers I already discussed. So let's start with the application layer. So our first layer will be a application layer, right? So what is an application? So if you are seeing any applications, like for example, you can take Instagram as application, and ex- sorry, and the Canva, that was one of the application, and some browser applications like Firefox, MS Edge, Opera, Safari, and Chrome. These are the some browser applications, right? So if you want to communicate with your bank server, so what you need, right? So I have a Google Chrome. I was giving some TFC in Google Chrome, right? So I need to, if I want to communicate to my bank, So I am going to Google and I'm typing the HDFC, and I'm communicating with my bank. I am seeing what are the transactions and are there and what are the transaction history, everything, right? I am using my browser application. So the application in the self is like Chrome, Edge, Firefox. So whatever you can say, any application, right? You can consider any application what you have. Okay. So not only the application, this application layer will give some protocols. What is a protocol? The protocol is like a rule. Okay. So if I am typing a Google, I just typed Google, right? So if you see the protocol, there is one of some protocols were added, right? So that is a HTTPS. Maybe many of them learned this HTTP and HTTPS. So HTTP is like a hypertext transport protocol, and HTTPS is like a hypertext transport protocol security. So there are two protocols in a web application when you are communicating to any servers or any application, any servers across the world. So the protocols will become here, okay? The HTTP, HTTPS, not only the browser-based protocols. There is a lot of application, right? Outlook may be example of Outlook. That all the applications will becomes under the uh, application layer. Okay, Outlook, Zoom, or if you are going for Teams, everything will be coming up in the application layer. The protocol is also like, you can say it as FTP. There's a lot of protocols. We can discuss all the protocols, common ports and protocols in the upcoming sessions. But now we can explore the OSI model properly. Okay, so as I already said, this is one of the important video for everyone who is a fresher for learning the OSI. Okay, the next layer will be the presentation layer, right? So you can see the next layer. It was a presentation layer. So what is a presentation layer? So I am presenting something that's not a presentation layer. So what's the presentation? The presentation layer is responsible for a few things. So one was a compression. So another one is a encryption. Okay, so this layer is responsible for this both. So let's think why we need a compression and why we need a encryption. So let's understand what is a compression. So many of them used WinRAR or 7zip or any archive tools. So you are archiving some files and you are unarchiving the files. So the compression is like if you want to transfer a data from one machine to another, like let's take an example. This machine needs to send 100 gigabytes of data to this computer, okay? To this computer. This is you. And so your network bandwidth speed was, your network connection speed was like network speed. I will give NS, like it's like 10 GB per second, okay? It's like 10 GB per second, okay? But and if you are transferring this 100 GB to this machine, how much seconds it will take? Maybe it will take some 10 seconds, right? If the data communication speed was like gbps 10 gbps per second, it will take some 10 seconds to transfer the data to this machine. But it's not possible. So 10 gbps, it's not possible for network communication. But I just explain, say with an example. Okay, so if you compress this 100 GB, if you converted this 100 GB into 50 gigabytes, now this 50 gigabytes needs to transfer this computer, right? So it will only take 5 seconds, right? So absolutely, you can able to transfer the data quickly, and it will be very fast when you are transferring the data, right? It will be less the time, within a lesser time we can able to transfer all the data, right? So we have a compression here. And what is the encryption? So let's take a live example. What is the encryption? So encryption is like converting your data into the plain text pt. I will give pt plain text to ciphertext. Okay, so what is a plain text and the ciphertext? What's the difference? Let's take a quick example. So what is that? I will go for some online encryption tools. So I just using the encrypt text online. So I'm giving hi here, and the encryption algorithm was AES. So AES like stand for Advanced Encryption Standard, and you need to give the key. Okay, so I'm giving the TYUI. Okay, this is a key I'm giving, and I just clicked on the encrypt the data, so you can see the data how it was encrypted. So this is called as the ciphertext. Okay, this is the plain text, and this is the ciphertext. This is the key which used to encrypt this high. Okay, so in the up presentation layer, the encryption will be one of the method, one of the security mechanism for our data. Okay, so why we need a security in this? Why we need encryption and why we need a security? Okay, let's think of it. There is a so you are here, and your data will be gone to one of the service provider like BSNL or Vodafone or Airtel or any internet service provider, and it will go to the uh, tower or some location, or it going to the underground cables. Okay, and it going to the receiver, right? So these are the ways your data was transmitting from you to your bank server, right? So what if some attacker sitting here, okay, attacker sitting in the service provider room, and he is watching all your data what you are sending. Okay, if it was a plain text, if you are sending hi to here, if it's a plain text, he can able to watch what you are sending, right? So he can able to easily capture all your data. Yeah, you can just send hi, that's not a problem. But if you are using the bank application, you are sending the usernames and passwords, right? If the attacker got a usernames and password, he can easily uh, steal all your money. It's a security problem, right? So we have an encryption here. So if there is encryption, so you need to decrypt the data, right? So the decryption is sort of simple mechanism. So we can copy this same ciphertext, and we can go for a decrypt tool. This is the key we have given, and let's go to the decrypt tool, and we can paste the key here. TYUI. This is a key which we have provided, and I just giving the decrypt. So now you can see it was giving a hi to me, right? So this is the plain text I have encrypted with the ciphertext. Now I just gave the ciphertext and decrypted the data to the plain text. Okay, this is the encryption and the decryption. Okay, so if you are sending the encrypted data here, some random UIX WXZIJ, some randomized data here, that attacker unable to know what you are sending, right? So this is the encryption and decryption and security mechanism in a OSI model. Okay, so let's discuss about the third layer. So third layer is like a session layer. Okay, session. So in the session layer, let's think of it. There is a client and there is a server. So now you have a bank server, and you have a and you. So if you want to communicate with the bank server, so you need a session layer. Session layer is responsible for initiating the session communication. Okay, initiating the communication okay, and terminating your connection. It's responsible for terminating as well as initiating. Okay, so if I want to communicate with Google, I can just give google.com. Okay, my session layer will responsible for communicating with the google.com. So once I research everything with Google, so what I can do, I can easily close it off. So now the session layer will terminate my session. Okay, this will establish a connection as well as it will terminate a connection. So once you research everything, it will use some sort of APIs. So we can discuss it later. So what is an APIs and all? API stand for application programming interface. So we can discuss it later, the APIs. Okay. So the next layer will be the transport layer. So what is a transport? So the transport is used for going to one place to another or traveling from one place to another. So in OSI model, the transport layer has the same meaning. In the transport layer, there will be a two protocols. One is a TCP and another one is a UDP. Okay. So the TCP stands for a transmission control protocol and UDP stands for user datagram protocol. Okay. So we can say the TCP is a connection oriented. Okay, this is a very important point. Connection oriented, and the UDP we can state as a connectionless. Okay, so I just explaining what TCP and UDP will do here, but I will provide a detailed explanation in next video of TCP. Okay, there will be a three handshake. We can discuss it later in the next video itself. Okay, so why we are saying it's a connection oriented? Okay, so if you are sending some text messages or voice messages to your colleague or your friends in WhatsApp or any chatting platforms, so the data will not be lost, right? The data will be sent to your friend. We can give assurance to your data. All the data will be transmitted successfully. No missings. If you are giving hi, how are you, buddy? So every hi, how are you, buddy? Every text, every words will be properly received to your friend from you, right? So there will be no words are missed. There is no text words or there is no characters are missed here. Okay. So what are the things you are sending? You can we can make an assurance. Every data will be transferred to your receiver or your friend, anyone. Okay. But UDP, we can take a message as a normal connection. So you are giving the usernames, password, or you are giving some text message to your friends or anyone. Okay, what's a connectionless? So we can take a basic example of IMO video call. Okay, so if you are calling your friend, so you are communicating with your friends in a video call. Sometime your connection was some interrupted. Your connection was like slow. So now you are unable to retrieve what you said, right? So sometime your connection will be slow. You said something and your friend can't able to hear what you said. So you are asking one more time what you said and all. Okay, so that was a connectionless. Okay, we can't able to give assurance to the data what you sent. That was a connectionless. So these are most of the time the UDP was used by the video calls and all, because the data transfer need to be very faster. TCP was not fast like UDP. UDP was very fast than the TCP because there is no handshakes and checksums are there, so that it will be very faster. In the video calls and the audio calls, we need the UDP because the data communication needs to be very fast, so that we are using UDP in the data communications. Okay, so the video calls and all, we are using the UDP based so I just give some examples what happened here. That was not exactly, but this is the exact example what the TCP and UDP. Like TCP is like a connection oriented and UDP is like a connectionless. Okay, so this is an example IMO video call. You can't able to give assurance to your data what you transferred. Okay, so the next layer will be the network layer, right? So what is a network layer? So let's think of it. So you are here and you need to send some data to your bank server. Okay, so what you will do? So you need to know the address of the bank server, right? So every home has an address. Even my home has an address. Everybody home has an address. So if you want to send one parcel to your friend or your colleague's home, so what you will do? You will send it through the post or send it to the courier, right? You will be giving the address, from address to address and all, right? So in the same way, if there is a bank server or any servers like Google or Facebook or anything, the server has a address. Okay, so if you are, let me show the address of the google.com. So this is the IP address of a google.com, 142.250.67.78. This is the bank server, 157.68 something. So you need to know what was the address of the bank, right? So if you want to if you want to send some data to the bank server, so you need to know what's the address of the bank server, right? So that the address will be the IP address. In the network layer, the IP, source IP is your IP. What's my IP? Sorry. So you can see my IP address was 192.168.18.29, 192.168.18.29. Okay, this is my source IP. And what is the destination IP? So the destination IP will be the bank server IP. Let's think an example. Your bank server IP is 157.168 dot 18 dot 5. This is your bank server IP. Okay, so in the network layer, source IP and the destination IP will be added. Okay, so the next, let's come to another layer. Next layer will be the data link layer. So in data link layer, there is one more address we need to add. Okay, so we need to add a MAC address. So MAC address is a unique address for every machines, every IoT device, or your smart watches, or your mobile phones, desktop monitors. Every IoT device and your internet-based device, it has a MAC ID. Like the MAC ID will be E9, F8. Like this will be the MAC address. Okay, we will discuss the MAC address in the next in the later sessions. It will be a little big topic. It will be confusing if I discuss it now. Okay, so this MAC address will be added here. Okay, so the next layer will be the physical layer. So what is a physical layer? So physical layer is responsible for transforming our data to one machine to another. Okay, so here you can see the data. This is your data, and this data to be converted into zeros and ones, right? Because the data need to travel through the cable, right? So it will be transferred, it will be converted to zeros and ones. The physical layer is responsible for that. So the routers, everything will be in the physical layers. Okay, it will needs to route your packets to from your side, from you to your bank server, right? So it will convert the zeros and bits data into bits, okay, zeros and one, and it will convert the data from your machine to the bank server, okay. So this is a little overview of the OSI model. So let me discuss some in-depth concept. Let's think of it. There is an application layer. So in the application layer, your data will be like there's a data. Okay. So your data will be like a hi. Okay. So next you coming to the presentation layer. So in the presentation layer, so your data will be like some encrypted format EYXZ. Okay, we already discussed about the plain text, cybertext and all. And again, we have a session layer. So again, your data will be like data with the encrypted text, the same. So next, we'll your data was coming to the transport layer. So in the transport layer, there is one thing to discuss. Your data can be segmented, okay? Sometime, so you need to transfer 100 GB data to your colleague or one of your friend server. So the 100 GB data will be converted into segments, okay? 10 GB, 10 GB based on your internet connections, based on the connection, it will be segmented into packets, okay, sorry, segments, okay. The data will be segmented, okay, different segments, okay, 10 GB, 10 GB, okay, it will be segmented, okay. Now your data and ex, let's will segment this one, okay, and x is it, okay. There is no data, your data also segmented, and it was using some TCP, right? Next, we can call this as a segment, okay, because our data is segmented into two parts, okay. Next, let's coming to the network layer. So in network layer, we already discussed there is a IP address and source IP and destination IP will be added. So now source IP, the protocol is a TCP and EX XZ, okay. This will be there, okay. So for EX, there is a TCP, source IP, destination IP. For XZ, there is it has a separate packet, TCP, source IP, destination IP. Okay, it divided into two parts. Okay, now we will call this as a packet. Okay, packet one and packet two. So now let's physical layer, the final layer. Sorry, in between there is a data link, right? I forgot that. Data link. So in the data link layer, we already discussed there is one more thing will be added, source MAC and destination MAC. These two things will be added here in your data, and with the TCP, source IP, destination IP, okay, for packet 1 and same for packet 2, okay. So another layer was a physical layer. So in the physical layer, this data will be transferred to 0101, zeros and ones. Okay, so the zeros and ones will be communicated through your cable, and it will went to the go to the your bank server, right? This is the entire data communication. Okay, so we have some more things to discuss. We will discuss that in the upcoming sections. We need to discuss the error checksum, how the TCP was handling the missing packets, how we can say the TCP was more reliable than the UDP. This in the later session. So now I hope everyone will have a clear understanding about the OSI model. So someone have a doubt, I know maybe you have a doubt. So we can solve that doubts in the upcoming sessions. Okay. So the upcoming sections will give more clear understanding about all the protocols and what are the in-depth concepts in networking. Okay. So thanks for watching, and let's see you on the next video, TCP, the brief explanation. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.